Receiving communion twice in one day is possible in certain circumstances. Catholics are only able to receive communion on certain days and under certain conditions. Generally, Catholics are only able to receive communion once per day, unless they are part of an exceptional circumstance, such as an ordination or a special event. There may be times when a Catholic is able to receive communion twice in a single day, such as if they are attending a special Mass on a Sunday. Another possible exception is for those who physically cannot receive communion in the traditional manner. In this case, they may be able to receive communion twice in a single day. It is important to note, however, that there are other, more restrictive rules that come with receiving communion multiple times in a single day. First, the First Communion must be received during a Mass in which both the priest and parishioners have 1 full hour of communal prayer before communion is distributed. Secondly, the Second Communion should be received during a separate Mass from the first one. Lastly, Catholics attending a special event or a special Mass may receive communion twice, but only on that specific day. In all other cases, the Catholic should not receive communion twice in one day. Receiving communion twice in one day is not common, but it is possible with certain restrictions. It is important to note that there are specific requirements that need to be met in order to receive communion twice in a single day. If a Catholic is unable to meet these requirements, then they should only receive communion once in a single day. Generally, the First Communion must be received during a Mass with at least 1 hour of communal prayer before the priest distributes communion. It is also important that the Second Communion is received at a separate Mass from the first one. Catholics attending a special event or a special Mass may receive communion twice. However, these special occasions are generally the only exceptions to the rule. It is also necessary to remember that Catholics should not receive communion twice in a single day unless they are part of an exceptional circumstance. Receiving communion twice in a single day is often not promoted by the Church, and it is important to remember this before receiving communion more than once on a single day. Whether or not someone is able to receive communion twice in one day depends on their personal circumstances, as well as the restrictions and requirements that may be in place. Ultimately, before receiving communion twice in the same day, it is important that all individuals understand the restrictions and exceptions as well as the rationale behind them. Abiding by the Church's guidelines helps ensure that those who receive communion are doing so in a respectful and appropriate manner. It is also important to note that the Church encourages all Catholics to follow the guidelines and requirements for receiving communion. The Church does not recommend receiving communion twice in one day, but if necessary, it is important to ensure that all conditions are met before doing so. It is imperative to understand that the rules for receiving communion are in place to help protect those who receive it.